The air hung heavy with incense. Dust motes danced in the flickering torchlight. Inside the mountain temple, a young warrior named Arian knelt before the oracle.
Beware, the serpent sleeps, but its hunger dreams of kingdoms devoured.
Arian shivered. He'd come seeking guidance, not cryptic warnings. What did the serpent's hunger mean for his kingdom, for his people? As he pressed the oracle for answers, her gaze turned vacant, the life fading from her eyes. She slumped back, the echo of her final words hanging in the air.
The serpent's shadow will rise. Only the sunblade can banish the darkness.
Arian left the temple, the weight of the prophecy heavy on his shoulders. He had more questions than answers. What was the serpent? Where was this sunblade? And how could he, a simple warrior, hope to stop a threat that could consume kingdoms? Despite his fear, a spark of determination ignited within him. He would unravel this prophecy and protect his people. He had to. The journey back to Arian's kingdom was fraught with danger. Wolves stalked him through the dense forest, their eyes glowing with an unnatural hunger. Bandits, emboldened by whispers of chaos, lay in wait on the mountain passes. Each challenge tested Arian, pushing him to the limits of his skill and endurance. But he never lost sight of his goal. The fate of his kingdom rested on his shoulders.
News of the oracle's prophecy had spread like wildfire. Fear had gripped the hearts of the people. Arian knew he had to act fast. He reached the capital city, his armor battered but his spirit unbroken. He rode straight to the palace, seeking an audience with the king. He had to convince him of the danger they faced. He had to make the king understand that time was running out.
The king, a wise but weary man, listened intently as Arian recounted the oracle's prophecy and his perilous journey. He saw the truth reflected in Arian's determined eyes. He knew that inaction was not an option. He pledged the support of the royal guard, the finest soldiers in the kingdom. But he also warned Arian that not everyone would believe. Fear and doubt had a way of poisoning even the most loyal hearts.
With the king's blessing, Arian set out to gather allies. He knew he couldn't face this threat alone. He needed people he could trust, people with the courage to stand against the coming darkness.
His first stop was the home of Lyra, a skilled huntress and childhood friend. Lyra, unflinching in the face of danger, didn't hesitate to join his cause. She knew the forest better than anyone, and her skills would be invaluable.
Next, he sought out the wisdom of Eldrin, an aged scholar and keeper of ancient lore. Eldrin, his eyes twinkling with knowledge, believed the oracle's words. He spoke of forgotten prophecies, of a time when the serpent had almost consumed the world. He told Arian of the Sunblade, a legendary weapon forged in the heart of a dying star. It was a weapon of immense power, the only weapon capable of defeating the serpent.
With Eldrin's guidance, Arian, Lyra, and a small band of loyal warriors embarked on a perilous quest to find the Sunblade. They journeyed through treacherous mountains and across desolate plains, following ancient maps and whispered rumors. But as they ventured further, a sense of unease settled upon them. They were being watched, followed. They found their campsite sabotaged, their supplies dwindling.
One night, under a sky thick with storm clouds, they were ambushed. A group of masked assailants, their blades glinting in the moonlight, descended upon them. The fight was fierce, desperate. Lyra's arrows flew with deadly accuracy, while Arian's sword flashed like lightning. But their attackers fought with a chilling ferocity, their eyes burning with an unnatural light.
They managed to fight off the attackers, but not without casualties. 2 of their companions lay dead, their eyes staring vacantly into the night. As Arian looked down at their fallen comrades, a chilling realization washed over him. This was no random attack. Someone was working from the shadows, someone who knew their every move and sought to stop them at any cost. But who? And why? The ambush had shaken them, but it also strengthened their resolve. They pressed onward, their pursuit of the Sunblade becoming more urgent with each passing day. Finally, after weeks of hardship and danger, they arrived at their destination.
Hidden deep within a forgotten temple, we discovered a chamber of wonders.
Ancient murals adorned the walls, depicting the history of the serpent and the prophecy of its return.
Eldrin, his voice trembling with excitement, deciphered the ancient writings.
He revealed that the serpent wasn't a creature of flesh and blood, but a being of darkness, a manifestation of fear and despair.
It fed on the negativity of the world, growing stronger with every act of cruelty and malice.
The prophecy stated that the serpent would return when the world was at its most vulnerable, when hope was dwindling and shadows consumed the hearts of men.
And then, Eldrin revealed the most shocking truth of all.
The prophecy spoke of a keeper of the key, someone who would unwittingly unleash the serpent upon the world.
Someone driven by ambition and blinded by power. Someone within the king's inner circle. Someone Arian knew and trusted. The revelation hit Arian like a bolt of lightning. He had been betrayed, but by whom? His mind raced through the faces of those closest to the king. He had to warn the king, had to expose the traitor before it was too late.
With a newfound urgency, they abandoned their search for the Sunblade and raced back towards the capital, their hearts heavy with dread.
They rode through the night, pushing their horses to their limits. The weight of the prophecy pressed down on them, the fate of the kingdom hanging precariously in the balance.
As they drew closer to the capital, they noticed a change in the air. A palpable sense of fear and unease hung over the land. The sky, once clear and bright, was now choked with dark, swirling clouds.
Arriving at the city gates, they were met with a scene of chaos. The city was under siege. An army of shadowy figures, their eyes burning with the same unnatural light as their ambushers, swarmed the walls. The king's forces fought bravely, but they were outnumbered, outmatched. And at the heart of the enemy army, wielding a dark and terrible power, stood the traitor. The traitor, a trusted advisor to the king, had been corrupted by the serpent's power. He had been promised unimaginable power in exchange for his loyalty. Blinded by his ambition, he had opened the way for the serpent's return, believing he could control the darkness, but he had been a pawn in a far deadlier game.
As Arian watched the city burn, rage and despair welled up inside him. He had been betrayed, his kingdom brought to the brink of ruin. But amidst the chaos, a spark of hope ignited within him.
He remembered Eldrin's words. The prophecy also spoke of a hero, a warrior who would rise to challenge the serpent, a warrior who would wield the Sunblade and banish the darkness.
Arian knew what he had to do. He gathered his remaining companions. "We may not have found the Sunblade," he said, his voice filled with grim determination. "But we can still fight. We can still protect our people."
And with that, he charged into the fray, his sword a beacon of defiance against the encroaching darkness. The battle raged for what felt like an eternity. Arian and his companions fought with the fury of cornered wolves, their courage fueled by their love for their kingdom.
Lyra's arrows rained down upon the enemy, each shot finding its mark. Eldrin, despite his age, fought with surprising ferocity, his knowledge of ancient magic proving a powerful weapon.
Finally, Arian reached the traitor. The two clashed in a whirlwind of steel, their blades sparking in the firelight. The traitor, empowered by the serpent's darkness, was a formidable opponent, but Arian refused to yield. He poured all his anger, all his grief, all his hope into every blow, and in that moment, something extraordinary happened.
As their swords met in a final desperate clash, a surge of pure energy erupted from Arian. It flowed through him, outwards, engulfing the battlefield in a blinding light. It was the power of the Sunblade, manifesting not in a physical weapon, but in the hero the prophecy had foretold.
The traitor, stripped of his borrowed power, crumpled to the ground, fear twisting his features. The light that had erupted from Arian spread outwards, pushing back the shadows, banishing the unnatural darkness that had gripped the land. The serpent, its plans thwarted, its power waning, retreated back into the abyss, its hunger unsated. The remaining shadowy figures, their leader defeated, their power broken, scattered into the night.
As dawn broke over the ravaged city, Arian stood amidst the ruins, the light of the rising sun reflecting in his exhausted but triumphant eyes. The battle was over. The kingdom had been saved, but the cost had been high. Many good people had perished, and the scars of the conflict would take time to heal.
Yet in the ashes of destruction, hope bloomed anew. The people, inspired by Arian's courage and the sacrifices of their fallen comrades, began the long task of rebuilding. They had faced their darkest fears and emerged victorious.
They had learned that true power lay not in weapons or magic, but in the unyielding spirit of a united people. And as they looked to the future, they did so with a newfound sense of hope, knowing that even in the darkest of times, the light of courage and compassion could never be extinguished.